was 18, fresh out of high school and restless. My small town felt suffocating, and the world beyond it seemed huge, thrilling, and just out of reach. That's how I found Yahoo chat rooms, a new universe where I could meet people from anywhere, anywhere at all. Kids my age, college students, even older folks who like to tell stories or joke around. I spent most nights in a local chat called Midwest Talkers. People would talk about cars, music, random nonsense, harmless, at least at first. Over time, I became a recognizable handle, Skyline Girl. That's when I noticed him. His username was RedRoom21. Quiet, almost invisible in the group chat. Occasionally, he'd send me a private message. His first one was simple. "You're local, right? I've seen you here a few times." "Yeah. Small town," I typed back. "College about 2 hours north," he replied. His name was Tyler. He said he was studying computer science and didn't go out much. He was quiet, polite, almost mundane. We started talking every night, slowly, casually. Classes, music, future cars. Eventually, our chats became routine. I'd log in just to see if he was online. Then one night, early November, he asked if I had plans for Thanksgiving. "Not really. I work most days at the diner." "Why?" I typed. "You should come up. My roommate's gone. I'll cook. We can watch movies." I hesitated. Never met anyone online before, but he seemed normal, friendly. "I can only stay one night," I warned. "Fine," he said. "I'll drive down, pick you up, we'll hang out, that's it. You can crash here, I'll drive you back." The day came. Thanksgiving morning, cold, gray, and the kind of November that makes the air smell like frozen dirt. Tyler's old blue Civic rolled up. He didn't smile, eyes fixed straight ahead. "Ready?" he asked. The drive was silent. One-word replies when I tried to make conversation. Maybe he was shy, I told myself. His dorm was small, beige buildings clustered in pine, trees and parking lots half buried in slush, narrow hallways, the faint smell of old ramen noodles. He locked the door behind us. The click made my stomach drop. He tossed his jacket on a chair and opened a small folding knife, flipping it open and closed. You always carry that?" I asked. "Yeah. Habit. Dad gave me knives." I nodded, pretending not to notice my pulse racing. We tried watching a movie, but he kept fidgeting, tapping the knife, asking about my past relationships. When I said I'd had a boyfriend before, he smiled, a smile that didn't feel kind. Eventually, he leaned closer. His hand brushed my thigh. "Tyler," I whispered, pushing him away. "I can't." He paused, quietly folded the knife, and backed off. Later, I agreed to sleep on his bed. The room was freezing, the floor dirty. I lay facing the wall, trying not to feel him behind me. Sleep came in shallow waves, then I woke. Something was wrong. His weight was on me. My body froze. My mind couldn't form words. When he rolled off, he fell asleep as if nothing happened. I stared at the ceiling, trembling. Not long after, I woke again, my wrist pinned above my head. His laptop on the desk, webcam light glowing. I realized he was in the chat room typing as me, Skyline Girl 8. He's got me. He's holding me down. The chat exploded, dozens of lines flying by. "Call." "The cops, stop pretending, let her go!" Tyler laughed, turned on the microphone. "Hey everyone, it's me, she's really here, believe me now," I screamed. "It's me, help!" He froze. Slowly, he let go. "It was just a joke," he said calmly. "Joke? You raped me," I shouted. He muttered, "Don't say that. Don't ever say that." I grabbed my bag, shaking. He finally drove me home. Silent ride. Weeks later, I avoided the internet. Deleted my account. Midwest Talkers was gone. I never saw Tyler again. By then, November had arrived in earnest. The first snow had fallen. I moved into a small rental on the edge of Pine Hollow, away from the noise of town. Cheap rent, creaky floors, old roof, perfect escape. One night I returned from work at Miller's Hardware. The snow was starting, the furnace humming low and uneasy. I reheated leftover pizza, scrolling on my phone. Around 10 p.m., a thud above my room. Probably snow sliding off the roof. I convinced myself. Then another. Then another. Each spaced, across the ceiling like footsteps. My throat went dry. This wasn't normal. I grabbed my flashlight and went outside. Half the roof above my bedroom was bare, no snow. The neighbors' roofs were untouched. My house looked wrong. Inside, puddles of water traced across the hall, faint wet boot prints, a man's size. My pulse spiked. I stepped outside, called 911. From my window, I saw him. Tall, broad, dark silhouette staring down. 2 minutes felt endless. Then he stepped back. Cops arrived, swept the house, found tire tracks and footprints on the roof leading to the upstairs window. Nothing stolen. A knife found near the stairs. I stayed at a friend's house that night, installing motion lights, extra locks. For weeks I tried to convince myself it was over. But sometimes the faint thud returned, deliberate, right above my bedroom. Months later, winter had fully arrived. I drove through snowstorms on Route 218, heading back from Thanksgiving with family. Empty roads, heavy snow, visibility low. Ahead, orange hazard lights. A car sideways in the lane. A man waving. I stopped. He looked freezing, Eastern European accent. "Car stuck, need help push," he said. I hesitated, my gut screamed wrong. Still, I stepped out to help. Another reflection, shadow in the back seat. "Someone there?" I asked. "No one," he said flatly. Then more men emerged from the car, fast, practiced. I bolted, slipping on ice, heart hammering, jumped in my car, floored it. Tires fishtailed. One man banged on the back window as I passed. I didn't look back. Snow blurred the road. My hands shook for hours. At the next gas station I pulled, over, trembling. The clerk offered coffee, called the sheriff. Tracks and tire marks were found, but no car, no suspects. Just an abandoned scarf half buried in snow. That road, that stretch of November highway I'll never drive again. Because I know those men are still out there, waiting for the next car to stop. Sometimes when I lie in bed, the wind hits the house just right. I swear I hear it. That same soft, deliberate thud, one step after another, right above my room, just like before. The world outside, once safe, had become small and dark, and I learned the hard way that monsters don't always lurk in alleys. Sometimes they wait behind screens in snowstorms or in the shadows of your own home. I had just moved into a small rental house on the edge of Pine Hollow, about a mile off the main highway. It wasn't much, just a one-story place with creaky floors, a sagging roof, and a faint musty smell. But rent was cheap, and after my breakup last spring, I wanted somewhere quiet, somewhere I could breathe. That night, the first snow of November had started falling. It was one of those early snows that makes the air smell sharper, colder. I'd spent the evening at Miller's Hardware, stocking up on supplies for the week, and I remember the bite of the wind as I stepped out of my car, the flakes sticking instantly to my coat. I should have felt cozy being home, but the house felt colder than usual, like it hadn't fully woken from summer. I tossed my jacket over a chair, reheated 2 slices of leftover pizza, and sat on the couch with a blanket. The furnace hummed faintly, struggling to keep the rooms warm. Outside, the wind rattled the windows, making the snow hit like handfuls of ice. I shrugged and told myself I was just imagining things. By 10 p.m., I was tired. I shut off the lights, grabbed my laptop, and headed upstairs to my bedroom. As I sat down at my desk, I heard it, a dull thud above me. Not loud, but distinct. I froze, my breath catching. My bedroom was on the side of the house beneath the roof slope, and the sound seemed like something heavy being dropped on the shingles. Probably just snow sliding off the roof, I told myself. But seconds later, another thud came, closer this time, followed by another, moving across the ceiling. My pulse spiked. I stood and grabbed my flashlight from the closet, throwing on my jacket again. Outside, The snow had settled heavier. I stepped onto the porch. My boots crunched on the white layer, the wind immediately slapping my face. I scanned the roof. Half of it, the part directly above my bedroom, was bare. No snow. The rest was thick with white, just like the neighbors' roofs. Snow doesn't just slide off one half of a roof, I thought. Something had disturbed it. I backed into the house, hands shaking, and checked the hallway. Puddles of melted snow trailed across the floor. Boot prints, large, wet, and uneven, stretched. From the living room to the stairs, my stomach dropped. Someone had been in my house. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, voice trembling. "Someone's in my house," I said. "Please, I think they're still here." The dispatcher stayed on the line as I moved toward the street, trying to stay in sight of the darkened windows. And then I saw him. A tall figure standing in my bedroom window, still looking straight at me. No light behind him, just his outline against the dim glow from the street lamp. He didn't move, didn't blink. Then he stepped back into the darkness. 15 minutes later, the first patrol car arrived, blue lights painting the snow in harsh streaks. 2 officers swept the house while I stayed outside. When they came back, the older officer shook his head. "No one inside," he said. "You said you saw someone upstairs?" "Yes," I said quietly. They noted the trail of wet footprints, leading from the tree line to the edge of the house, and one officer held up a kitchen knife in a plastic bag, found near the stairs. "Nothing appears to have been stolen," he said. "Could have been someone looking for shelter or something worse." I didn't sleep that night. I crashed at my coworker Jaime's place, who didn't ask questions, just handed me a blanket and a cup of coffee. My mind kept replaying the figure at the window, standing there silently, waiting. Over the next few weeks, I tried to convince myself it was a one-time thing. I installed a better deadbolt, nailed the upstairs window shut, set up motion lights. But sometimes, in the middle of the night, I would swear I heard that same dull thud above my bedroom, one step after another. And I'd lie there staring at the ceiling, listening. Nearly a year has passed and nothing else has happened. The cops never found anyone. They said maybe it was a drifter, maybe someone passing through. But I know better. That night, when I saw him at the window, he wasn't caught by surprise, he wasn't scared. He moved like someone who'd been waiting. And sometimes when the wind hits the house just right, I swear I hear it again. That soft, deliberate thud, one step after another, right above my room. A few months later, I was driving back from a Thanksgiving visit with my parents. Snow had started falling again, soft at first, then heavier. Around Ash Ridge, the visibility dropped. A car was sideways across the lane ahead, hazard lights flickering. I slowed and rolled my window down. A man stepped into the snow, waving. He looked frozen, scruffy beard, late 30s, no hat. I hesitated, glancing at the road. "You got anyone else coming?" I asked. "No," he said. Accent thick, Eastern European. "No service, just small push." I stepped out, gloves and hat on, and helped push his car. But something felt off. While leaning in, I caught a shadow in the back seat. Another man, crouched, barely visible. I froze. He turned slowly toward me. "No one," he said, tone flat, cold. I backed off immediately. Then the doors cracked open, one after the other. 2 more men, hooded, moving quick. I ran, boots slipping in the snow, heart hammering. They shouted, in strange accents, as I jumped in my car and floored it. Tires fishtailed before gripping. I drove blindly through the storm for half an hour, snow blurring everything. When I finally reached a gas station, I realized I was shaking uncontrollably, tears freezing on my cheeks. The attendant saw me and called the sheriff. They sent a deputy who said they found tire marks and footprints, but no car, no suspects, just a scarf buried in the snow. Since then, I've avoided that stretch of Route 218. Driving in snow makes my stomach twist, the memory of those faces and headlights haunting me. People talk about black ice, deer, accidents, but they never talk about what might be waiting for you, hidden in the storm, moving silently while you help. And I know, somewhere under that snow, they're still out there, waiting for the next car to stop. Winter isn't just cold in Pine Hollow, it's quiet, patient, and some things don't melt away with the morning light. I moved into my new apartment in early November, the kind of place that's cheap, slightly run down, and tucked behind a row of abandoned shops in the older part of town. My name's Ethan Cole. I work nights at a convenience store, and I'd been renting places on and off for a while. This one seemed perfect, small, quiet, and the rent was shockingly low. The first night I noticed the cold. Not the kind of chill that comes from bad insulation, but the kind that feels like the walls themselves are watching you. I shrugged it off at first, convincing myself that old apartments always had drafts. The heater hummed to life, sputtering and wheezing, and I set about unpacking my things. The building was nearly empty. Only one other tenant had moved in, a girl named Claire a few floors down. She waved once in the elevator, all bright smiles and polite small talk, and I went back to my boxes. That night I slept with every window shut tight, but I woke up at 3 a.m. to a faint scratching sound. It was coming from the old storage room at the end of the hall. The door was solid, metal, and I'd only opened it once to check the fuse box. But the scratching, it sounded deliberate, slow, like someone dragging their nails across wood. I froze under my blanket, straining my ears. After a few minutes, I convinced myself it was nothing, probably just the pipes. Old buildings groan in the winter. But over the next week, the noises grew more persistent. Thumps and scuffs at odd hours, always around the storage room. I asked Claire if she'd heard anything. She laughed, shaking her head. "You get used to it," she said. "This building always sounds like it's alive." I didn't get used to it. One evening around 9 p.m., I got home from my shift. The street was empty, November's early snow dusting the sidewalks, and the air had that clean, biting edge. The apartment was darker than usual. The hallway light, flickering. My keys rattled in the lock, and when I stepped inside, the first thing I noticed was the temperature. It was freezing. My breath fogged instantly. The heater had shut off. That alone wouldn't have been alarming, except I'd checked it just hours ago. I glanced toward the storage room. The door was slightly ajar. I didn't leave it that way. I walked over slowly, hand on the knob, and pushed it open. Inside, the room was empty. Just dusty shelves, a broken broom, some old boxes. Nothing moved. Nothing seemed out of place. But when I turned to leave, I noticed a small detail. Footprints. Bare footprints in the thin layer of snow that must have somehow made it inside. They led across the floor, stopping halfway, then vanished. My heart pounded. I checked the windows. All closed. Locked. I checked the door from the hallway. Locked. I called the building manager, but he brushed it off. Old building. Drafts. Moisture. That's all. Don't overthink it. I didn't sleep that night. Over the next few days, I kept noticing small things. Items slightly moved. Doors that were open when I was sure I'd closed them. I chalked some of it up to absent-mindedness, but my unease was growing. The scratching had started again, always from the storage room. At least once I thought I heard breathing through the cracked door. Then, one cold Tuesday night, it escalated. I got home around 11:30 p.m., the snow outside coming down heavier now, and as soon as I stepped inside, I knew something was wrong. The storage room door was wide open. The heater was still off, the room colder than it should have been. I reached for my phone to call Claire, but I froze. There was movement inside. I crept forward, hand trembling. My apartment was small. I could see the whole living room from the hall. Shadows stretched along the walls, and in the corner of my eye something moved. A tall figure, hunched slightly, seemed to glide rather than walk. My stomach twisted. I whispered, "Hello?" No response. The figure stepped into view. Pale face, dark hair hanging in wet strands, eyes reflecting the dim light from the hallway. Not human. Not fully. I stumbled back, tripping over a box. The figure turned sharply, gliding toward me. I ran into the kitchen, grabbed a knife from the drawer, and held it out. It paused, head tilted, as if curious. "Get out," I said, voice barely more than a whisper. It didn't. I backed into the living room, heart hammering, and realized the worst part. The thing wasn't breathing. No sound except the wind from the slightly cracked window, but it moved with such intent like it knew me. Then the lights flickered. One moment the room was bathed in pale yellow, the next dark as midnight. And in that darkness, I felt it behind me, cold air rushing past my neck. I swung the knife blindly. It met nothing. When the lights returned, it was gone. Just vanished. I spent the night sitting in the corner of my couch, knife in hand, waiting for the sun. Morning brought no relief. The storage room was empty. No footprints, no marks, no sign that anything had been there. I called the manager again, more insistent this time. He told me to stop scaring myself, and that if it was a safety concern, I should call the cops. I hesitated. What could I tell them? A shadow that wasn't there when the sun came up? But then, the next night, it returned. This time, I was ready. I set up my phone with a flashlight on it, recording the room. Around midnight, the scratching started. Slow, deliberate, I whispered, "I know you're there," and waited. The door creaked open. A hand, pale, thin, almost translucent, slipped through the crack. Then a face peering in. Wet hair, dark eyes, twisted into a faint, cruel smile. I shouted and lunged. It recoiled and vanished into the corner, fading into darkness as if it had never been solid. My recording picked up nothing. My phone, battery drained instantly. I couldn't stay there. I packed a bag that night and moved to a friend's place. I didn't sleep in the apartment for days, but I couldn't let it go. I returned with a camera, some tools, a spirit detector I'd bought on a whim, anything to catch it. Nothing. Weeks passed. The building manager got angry. Tenants started moving out. I started hearing from neighbors about similar things, strange noises, sudden cold spots, shadow figures at night. One man even said his cat wouldn't enter the storage room anymore. Finally, I realized something. The thing wasn't just haunting the apartment, it followed me. I moved again, rented another small apartment. Everything seemed normal for a while, but last night I woke up to a cold room. My heater was off. The air had that same biting chill and I could hear it. Scratching, faint at first, then louder, coming from the corner of my room. I grabbed the knife again, heart in my throat. Shadows shifted in the dim light. It was here, waiting. And I understood. The truth. It doesn't matter where I go. November brings cold, darkness, and the quiet spaces where things like this wait. The storage room, the old apartment, the empty hallways, they're just doors. Doors to it. I don't know why it chose me. I don't know what it wants. But it's patient, methodical, and I've learned the only thing I can do is stay awake, stay alert, and hope the winter ends before it decides to finish whatever it started. Some nights when the wind blows just right, I hear that faint scratching again. Across the floor, along the walls, inside my room. It's closer than I think, and I know it's only a matter of time.